Professor Plum, the ballroom, and the revolver. Anyone that has played the game of Clue knows that these are the three statements made in an accusation. The whole point of Clue is to figure out who was killed in the mansion, who done it, who was the perpetrator, what room and place the crime was committed, and what was the weapon that was used to commit that crime. And the case before you is a little analogous to this game of Clue. Several of the facts are already known. For instance, the where is undisputed by either me, the defendant, or the plaintiff that the action occurred, an altercation occurred on Evergreen Avenue. The who is not very difficult either. There's only three people there that night. My client, Mr. Waldman, his partner, Mr. Levy, and Mr. Ramirez, the plaintiff. But the third part is a little more intriguing. The weapon. There was, ladies and gentlemen, a knife there at the scene. But we'll get back to that question a little bit later. Right this minute, I'd like to introduce you to my client, Mr. Waldman. Edward Waldman was born and raised in Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts. He decided in high school that he wanted to join the police and protect the world from unrest and crime. He enrolled into the Boston Police Academy and graduated. After graduation, he went on to a number of cities in Missouri, Michigan, and finally in Illinois, where he served on both the Springfield Police Force and also for the last 8 years in the Chicago Police Force. He's had over 30 years experience fighting crime and experiencing with the pressures of that job. He's a seasoned veteran who was trusted within his own ranks, as can be evident from the different jobs he held, as first as a plainclothes patrolman, then as an undercover warrant officer, and then finally working in the anti-crime unit. Also, just briefly pointing out that Mr. Waldman moved to his various jobs and assignments in different cities of his own free will in search of fulfilling his destiny and self-purpose in life. Let's go back in time a little bit, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Let's go back to that fateful evening, because there is another side of the story that you need to hear. On that night, my client, Mr. Waldman, and his partner, Norm Levy, were out on patrol. They responded to a call that burglary was in progress over on Rockwell Street. They met with the uniformed officers and agreed to go looking for the potential burglar, who was still unaccounted for. As they went around patrolling, going about 5 to 10 miles an hour. What was the purpose? They were looking and seeing if they could see the flash of the light, the shifting of shadow, the movement of someone running down a back alley, trying to determine where the perpetrator was. As they were driving down California Avenue, a car came up behind them. They attempted to pass, but ended up not doing so. My client and his partner turned down Evergreen Avenue. And as they continued on down Evergreen Avenue, the car that had been on California Avenue came along behind them and barreled right behind them, honking his horn and shouting. My client's partner, Mr. Levy, was directed to turn the car over and allow him, the plaintiff, to pass. It was a one-way street with cars on both sides, which made it restrictive for him to pass as it was. So we wanted to give him the opportunity to go by us. But for reasons known only to him, he stopped his car right beside us and jumped out, yelling and shouting incoherently at us. My partner got out to assess the situation and why he was in conversation with the plaintiff. It turned deadly. The plaintiff charged my client's partner, Mr. and pinned him up against the side of the car. A struggle ensued, and somewhere a knife is produced and stabbed my client, Mr. Waldman's partner, Levy, was stabbed in the shoulder and the chest. Seeing the altercation break out, my client, Mr. Waldman, jumped out of the car and went around to try to assist his partner. At that point, he was in a critical situation. Such decisions are difficult to make and to judge when it is proper to do or not to do something. But at that moment, it was up to Mr. Waldman, my client, to decide if it was better to have a body bag or a bullet, to shoot once at the perpetrator and end the altercation, or risk the chance that his partner could end up being stabbed and killed and dying needlessly there, to have officers go to a family's home to tell them that their son or daughter was not returning because they had died in the line of duty. Fearing for his partner's life, my client drew out his gun and shot one single bullet at Mr. Ramirez, hitting him in the shoulder and dropping him instantly, having the desired effect. He then got on the radio and radioed him home, back to base for backup and for help to take this man to the hospital. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want you to see this carefully. This will be Exhibit A of the defense during the course of this trial. It is a knife that was recovered at the scene of the crime. The plaintiff will argue strenuously that he did not own such a knife, that such a knife was never in his possession, that it was not there on the night of the incident. But I ask you, where did the knife come from? It is undisputed, and we have eyewitness testimony, besides that of my client, to determine and to verify that that knife was there. And unless you want to believe spontaneous generation, which was disproved in the 19th century, there has to be some reason why this knife was there. Would police officers be carrying such a weapon? We will prove and show to you that indeed it is very reasonable and possible that the plaintiff was indeed carrying such a knife. Also to consider is that we will show you medical records showing that Mr. Levy went to the hospital to be treated for stab wounds to the shoulder. The plaintiff, Mr. Ramirez, has asked for money. He wants to be made whole for the injuries that he suffered from my client shooting him in the back. But is it just, is it fair for him, who instigated this contact, who got out of his car instead of driving on peacefully back to his home, who turned and attacked my client's partner and stabbed him? Is it reasonable for him now to turn back on my client, Mr. Waldman, and ask for him to pay for his damages? I will say to you and ask you, the jury, that you will find that the plaintiff is not, that the defendant here is not responsible for the plaintiff's injuries, but in fact, he made his own bed and caused his own injury. So I ask you to render justice in this case, and to find that my client, Mr. Waldman, is not liable for the injuries sustained by Mr. Ramirez. Thank you.